Are you struggling to run your .NET unit tests in a Docker container? You're not alone. Today, we're going to simplify this process and get your tests running smoothly. I totally get it. Setting up Docker for your .NET applications can be tricky, especially when it comes to running tests. Many developers face this challenge, and it can be frustrating when things don't work as expected. Here's the specific question we're addressing today. One user asked, "What command do I use to execute all mstest unit tests in my Docker container?" This is a common scenario, so let's break it down together. To understand the solution, we need to look at the Docker file and the folder structure. The Docker file specifies how to build the Docker image, and the folder structure shows where your test project is located. Stay with me. At the end of this video, I'll share a quick tip that can make running tests in Docker even easier. To run .NET unit tests in a Docker container, the user should first ensure that their Docker file is correctly set up. The provided Docker file already specifies the base image and the entry point for running the tests. Next, the user needs to build the Docker image. This can be done by running a command in the terminal that specifies the current directory as the build context. After building the image, the user can run the container to execute the tests. This is done using a command that specifies the image name and runs it in an interactive mode. Finally, the user should check the output in the terminal. This will show the results of the unit tests, indicating which tests passed and which failed. Fun fact, Docker containers are like lightweight virtual machines, but they share the host OS kernel. This makes them super efficient for running applications. Now, let's look at the answers provided by other users. An alternative approach shared by another user involves using a different Docker file to run .NET unit tests. They suggest starting with the .NET SDK image version 5.0 and setting the working directory to /app. This user copies the project file and runs .NET Restore to manage dependencies. Then they copy the test files and publish the application in release mode. They also note that they did not include .NET Test in the Docker file to avoid stopping the build if tests fail. Additionally, they created a Docker ignore file to exclude unnecessary directories. Finally, the user provides their folder structure for reference, which includes the Docker file, Docker ignore, and test files. Here's that quick tip I promised. Consider using Docker Compose for more complex setups. It can simplify managing multiple containers and services. And there you have it. You should now be able to run your .NET unit tests in a Docker container with ease. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe for more tips and tricks.